Hey, what's up? I'm here in Seattle, Washington at Dan Dixon's house, the creator of Universe Sandbox, and he has taken all of his design and programming background and put it into his smart home to create an insane dashboard and automations around his house that I can't wait to show you. So one of the main things I'm going to focus on is the smart home dashboard Dan built. It's by far the best dashboard I've ever seen in my entire life. It seriously blows my dashboard out of the water for all the crazy advanced features. But not only that, it's easy to use.
Yeah, so one of the real focuses in designing the dashboard was to make everything as easy as possible so that everything is just like one button push away. So if you're having to like scroll or switch menus, like that's just too much, right? I want to be able to walk up to the dashboard, press a button, everything happens.
Dan's home is awesome because he didn't just add a couple of dashboards around the house. He added 10. Yes, 10 dashboards all over the house. So Dan has his dashboards placed in the most ideal locations, like one right here at the top of his stairs as he's walking up. But if he goes and sits at his desk, look, he has another dashboard right there. And then when he's going to bed, you guessed it, another dashboard right next to his bed. So no matter where he's at, he has quick access to control his smart home. Later in the video, we'll get into everything the dashboard can do, but this is just a little taste of how intense and decked out Dan's smart home is. Like his smart lights, he has 95 Philips Hue lights around his house. Literally every light is a smart bulb that can change color, even the shower light, because why not? And the desk lights that most people would settle for basic white lights or something, Dan takes it up a notch.
Yeah, I wanted to be able to change all of the lights in my house to different colors, and I couldn't find a good work light, so I ended up using a Hue outdoor flood lamp with attached to a monitor arm. Yeah, so here they're color, and then with the press of a button, they go bright and ready for assembling Legos or working on projects.
Yes, that's a Lego typewriter on his desk, and when he says assembling Legos, he means business. He has tons of Lego models all over the house and lots of massive projects that are fun to check out. Of course, the dashboard can control lights, and you would think with all the lights it would be messy and complicated to control them, but it's the opposite. All the lighting controls open up a little section there on the dashboard. So no jumping to another page and going back and forth. Everything opens up right there and it's super easy to use. All the favorite scenes are shown with the ability to customize it underneath, like the brightness, speed of the lights changing, lighting effects, or just change to a specific color. But a really nice touch is the colors used in the scene are displayed at the top left in little circle color palettes. I love the look of this, and Dan wrote the custom CSS and JavaScript code to display this, which is just incredible, and I want this for my dashboard. He's using those color combinations pulled from the Hue scenes to change the colors of the twinkly lights in the stairwell. That way the lights match, and let me tell you, it seems easy on the surface, but there's some complex coding for this to happen. The twinkly lights are really cool looking since you can see them on any of the 3 levels in the house. I'm a sucker for RGB lights, and I was always in awe walking up and down the stairs. So when it comes to music, Dan had speakers all over the house, even in the bathroom. And when showering, the humidity sensor triggers an automation to turn up the volume so it can be heard over the running water. So smart. But with the dashboard, Dan created a really easy way to control the music volume.
Yeah, so I felt like I was spending like a quarter of my life adjusting the volume on devices and music in my house. And so I came up with a way of just having kind of preset low, medium, high. Low is kind of conversational, high is the loudest I ever listened to it. And that way the volume is always what I expect it to be.
This is really useful when there are multiple audio players with their own volume numbers. So these low, medium, and high buttons handle all of that. I feel like every dashboard needs these volume presets. Just makes sense. Also, there's a button to open up all the Spotify playlists in a little section on the dashboard. And Dan found a way to make playing music as frictionless as possible.
So when I first got started with Home Assistant, I was like very pleasantly surprised to discover that it also had support for controlling music. And I absolutely love music and I want music playing all the time. But I was using Google Chromecast audios all through the house for whole house music. And the voice commands would like only work sometimes, or you'd have to pull out your phone. It was just such a pain. So I set up a a series of scripts so that I have a single button that will start the music every time.
I love it. No messing with scripts, turning all the speakers on, or any of that. Just one simple button and it takes care of it all. What's crazy is that there's 7 Aqara FP2 sensors scattered throughout the entire house. So no matter where you're standing, the smart home knows exactly where you are. For example, if you're walking down this little hallway area, and if Dan is like in between stuff, his smart home will see that and it will encourage him to do a quick exercise like some push-ups because it knows he's like in between tasks right then. So there's tons of automations he's using depending on where he is in the house. As you can see on the dashboard, each level of Dan's house is sectioned off in zones and it can tell if someone's standing in that zone. That way, if he hasn't taken his pills yet and he's in the kitchen area, Dan's smart home can remind him to do that task.
Take pills.
And these types of automations were all over the house.
So one of the problems I was having was I would forget to weigh myself in the morning. And so I set up an automation that when I actually go into the bathroom, it actually gives me an audible notification based on the motion sensors to
Weigh in.
And then when I weigh myself, when I actually stand on the scale, communicates to Home Assistant and will then
Weigh in complete.
But the automations don't stop there. Walking through the house, of course, turns on all the lights using the 15 different motion sensors scattered throughout. So no need to worry about using any light switches around here. And when Dan walks up to things like the washing machine, it just turns on for him because the motion sensor is tucked away so it can only see him in that area. This might seem a little bit over the top, but sometimes making the automation and seeing it in action is just plain old fun.
So I set up an automation that when I come down the stairs first thing in the morning, the curtains automatically open once I'm on the stairs. So that way I can get to like kind of witness the automation occurring in front of me.
I agree. It's fun to see the smart home working in action. There are so many things in Dan's smart home that I want to implement for myself, but one of them especially is the chime with the voice notification.
Dishwasher finished.
When I hear voice notifications at my house, sometimes I don't hear the full message, I'm not paying attention, but when I hear that chime first, it's easy to pay attention and hear what's being said, so I'm not hearing the last few words. It's a custom MP3 sound for the chime, and I think it elevates the whole automation, makes it sound kind of futuristic.
Dryer finished.
Back to the dashboard since it gets even more impressive with the notifications. In the top left, there are notification cards that appear as kind of a smart home to-do list. There are dozens of different types of these actionable notifications that can pop up all throughout the day. Like if the plants haven't been watered, or if there's mail in the mailbox since it has a contact sensor, if it's time to work out on the rowing machine or take out the trash. And sometimes the notifications will go away once the smart home recognizes it's been done. Like if the mailbox is open just after the front door is opened, then the smart home knows that Dan's getting his mail. Or if the notification gets clicked, it just goes away. I think this is extremely useful because the cards are always visible in the top left, so they don't get forgotten about, and it just looks nice. On the bottom right of the dashboard, it's a similar feature, but it's displaying things currently happening in the smart home, like if the washer or dryer are running. So with a quick glance at the dashboard, Dan can always see what's happening and what needs to be done around the house. The amount of customization that has been put into this dashboard is just bananas. Take the weather station for example. Dan lives in Seattle, which gets more rain in 1 week than I probably see in Arizona all year. So there's a rain animation Dan created on the dashboard that moves fast if it's raining hard, or moves slowly if it's sprinkling. I mean, how cool is that? There's also an offline mode, so if a dashboard gets disconnected, it will light up red to let Dan know it needs to be reconnected. And if Home Assistant is being rebooted, all the dashboards display that so no one accidentally tries to use the dashboard when it's not working. Seriously, all this is just next level. Like if the dashboard was scrolled down to control something and the person just walked away, guess what happens? The dashboard automatically scrolls back up 30 seconds later. That way it's always in the correct position when walking up to the dashboard. What? Also, if a section is opened up like music or light controls, that section will automatically close, but you can also pin it to stay open. The UX design in this is impressive with all of these thought out details. Dan is just using inexpensive Samsung tablets for the dashboard and also made some custom mounts for a nice clean look. And not only that, but each dashboard is either in light or dark mode depending on where it's mounted. Light color wall, light mode. Dark color wall, dark mode. These are the little details that really take it up a notch. So one of the things that has really stood out to me about this dashboard that Dan's done is made it extremely easy to use. It's so intuitive. Anybody could walk up to it and control the smart home, and just automatically changes with the time of day. So you just walk up to it, it shows you exactly what you need to see, and you don't even have to think about it. That's right. The dashboard changes what's displayed depending on what time of day and other things going on around the house. This just makes so much sense to have different controls for daytime versus going to bed. That way the dashboard can have even more buttons while staying less cluttered. This is just pure genius, and the dashboard in my own house is feeling really dumb right now. Dan also had some cool automations with things like his 3D printer. He built an exhaust fan system that automatically starts running when he starts a 3D print. He had a cool smoke machine to test the exhaust, and the smoke just looks awesome on the desk. Of course, there's a notification on the dashboard and on the speakers when the 3D printer is finished.
3D print complete.
There's also a button in the living room that would switch the TV mode. It changes all the lights and sets the volume to the perfect level for watching a movie. It also shows how much longer the movie has, and some really simple buttons to control the audio amplifier volume in a much more user-friendly way. The Philips Hue lights in the back are using the Hue sync to match the colors on the TV. This looked incredible with the Universe Sandbox game that Dan and his team made. Yeah, if you haven't played this game, it's so much fun. You send meteors to hit the Earth, blow up worlds, and all this crazy stuff. So if you want to be like Darth Vader and blow up a world with a laser like the Death Star, you can. The physics simulation on this thing is impressive, so I would definitely check it out if you haven't played it. I'll link it below. It's on Steam with extremely high ratings. Kinda makes sense why Dan's dashboard and smart home is so advanced. To make a game like that, you have to be really smart.
My journey with home automation started like 15 years ago, and I was doing some like crazy X10 stuff, and it barely worked. And then I didn't do anything with it for years. And then 2 years ago, the producer I work with on Universe Sandbox recommended Home Assistant, and I kind of started looking into that. I've just totally fallen in love, and it has allowed me to solve all kinds of different problems that I was having, like the ability to link them all together. The dashboard itself, extreme customization, hundreds and hundreds of hours setting the dashboard up and all the different scripts and automations. So I don't recommend it to anyone, but also when it works, it feels like magic.
It definitely feels like magic seeing everything work together firsthand. And Dan's smart home is very inspiring to see what's possible, and I know I got so many ideas for my own smart home. All right, that about does it for the tour. Thank you so much, Dan, for inviting me out here.
I had so much fun.
Yeah, your smart home is just mind-blowing how cool the automations are and that dashboard. Oh man, that thing is intense. Thanks everyone for watching. And the icing on the cake for this room is another one of those remotes that Dave built. It's all custom. And what's really amazing is